What is going on, guys? Jack here. Today I've got a slightly different video because today we're taking a look at the top 100 players by current ability in Football Manager. So here in front of you, you can see a list of the best 100 players in world football according to the Football Manager database. In today's video, we're going to just look through the list, see who ranks where, if there's any surprise packages. But in future episodes, I may kind of turn this into a mini series where we'll cover the kind of 10 players at a time. So we'll do that from 100th to 91st, 90th to 81st, and we'll count down 10 players each time in kind of a 10-part series. Let me know if you'd like to see this. Obviously, with there being 100 players, there's far too many for me to go through in one video without making it kind of 2 hours long. So today we're just going to have a look through the list, see where certain players rank, see if there's any surprise packages. And yeah, get your thoughts as well down in the comments. So as you can see here, I've got a custom view set up. I've sorted the players by current ability. If you don't know what current ability is, it's a value between 1 and 200. It's basically an overall, a bit like in FIFA, how you'd have an overall rating. In Football Manager, this is a hidden value normally. However, I've got it on show here to show you guys how these players stack up against one another. The next thing we have here is potential ability. Now, this is how much a player can improve. So, for example, Pogba has 176 current ability, but he does have the potential to reach 192, which, I mean, you can look at the list here. That would make him as good as Ronaldo on current ability. The next column we have is current reputation. This is a value between 1 and 10,000. It's basically how a player ranks in the world of football. 10,000, of course, being the highest. 1 kind of reputation being your Sunday League footballer. The next two things in the columns here are consistency and important matches. Consistency is the likelihood each game that a player will perform to his current ability. A player with lower consistency is unlikely to, repeatedly kind of perform to his current ability. So a good example of a player who I believe in FM has a low consistency would be Wayne Rooney, who in real life has a really high peak. He doesn't always reach it though on match day, so he doesn't have such a good consistency. Similarly, important matches is the likelihood in the big games, cup finals, derbies, title deciding games, a player is to perform to his current ability. The other columns we've got here are nationality, club, personality. I thought this would just be an interesting one to include, and also value. So as I mentioned, I'm not going to be able to go through every single player in today's video. So what I thought we'd do is we'd kind of scroll up from bottom to top. I can't talk about every single player. You guys can pause as you go through. If you notice any players that you're surprised how high they are, or if you're watching this and you go, that player's missing, there should be a player here who isn't here in the top 100 players, leave it in the comments. I'm also going to include a download link to the shortlist down in the top of the description. So if you want to download this for yourself, if you want to rank these players on CA and PA, you have to load up a draft mode game, and you have the option there to do it. So anyway, 100th in the world is Edin Dzeko, and as you can see here, he has 159 current ability. As I mentioned, we're not going to go through every player, but I thought I'd just highlight the fact that Edin Dzeko is the 100th best player in the world. So he is kind of the benchmark that we have. All the players are better than Edin Dzeko in wherever they feature. So as we scroll up here, you'll see the likes of Oscar, Matinho, Diego Alves, who may be a little bit of a surprising one. He's performed well for Valencia. And yeah, if we scroll up here, you can see Victor Valdes. I was surprised how good Victor Valdes was. 160 current ability. That seems really high when you compare it to the likes of ter Stegen, who's not as good as Valdes. If you don't know, the way that research works in Football Manager is there are researchers which represent different leagues and clubs. In England, I believe every Football League club has a researcher. I think also the national division clubs now have researchers too. For nations such as France, there's a head researcher for the region, and then there'll also be a number of kind of co-researchers who work alongside that head researcher to collect data at the start of every season, reevaluate players' abilities and such. If a player moves clubs in a summer, so for example Firmino transferred in this summer to Liverpool, his current ability cannot be changed until the January update, and this is to stop a player moving clubs and then suddenly getting a massive upgrade. So for example, Martial at the moment I believe is the exact same as he was in January in FM15. So anyway, let's continue on through this list. John Terry, a surprising player perhaps, 161 current ability, 180 potential ability. The fact he's got a high potential, obviously he's aged 34 here. That's kind of what he would have been perhaps in his heyday. If you were to look back a few football managers ago, that's the kind of ability I guess he would have had. Another player that sticks out here is Pjanic, and the reason he sticks out is because he only has 8 consistency. So he's a player with a really high peak, likely to perform but not every single game. You know, he's not going to go on these amazing runs of form. And I did also see Wayne Rooney just kind of sneak into the top of our list. If we go down here, this is going to be really annoying because it resets every time we go. But Wayne Rooney here, 10 consistency, 17 important matches though. I can think of a few big matches where Wayne Rooney's come big. The overhead kick, of course, against Man City kind of stands out. Anyway, as we go through, two Juve centre-backs in Balzagli and Chiellini there. You've also got the likes of Hamsik Quadrado, who I'm surprised how highly rated he is, 163 current ability. But he's there. Apparently he's on par with Diego Costa. I imagine he might get a bit of a downgrade in January. Although, to be fair, Quadrado is on a loan spell at the moment, of course, in Italy, where I believe he's been performing quite well. So who knows, maybe you can hold on to that. You may also notice a few Atletico players here. A lot of them got upgrades in the last few years, of course, with Atletico really establishing themselves in world football. Griezmann here, another one of those Atletico players. As we scroll up, you'll see Yaya Toure. I think he's had a bit of a downgrade this year. His PA was, or still is, 184, but his current ability 164, which ranks him alongside the likes of Santi Cazorla and Matic. Anyways, we keep going on. De Bruyne, and a player I'm surprised hasn't had an upgrade, but of course he only just moved to Man City, but he's had a great start at Man City, had a fantastic season last season, a player who I think will get a pretty decent upgrade at some point. But it is worth noticing he has got a little bit of potential in the game to kind of still achieve. Surprised how high Pirlo ranks here, 166 current ability, which is surprisingly high. That puts it on par with Mascherano. Again, because he's recently transferred, that might get updated sooner. I believe for America there's only one researcher, to my knowledge. I think there's one. It's Al Clark, who I think I had him on a charity live stream a while ago. I think he might have maybe a few helpers now. But yeah, we've got Pirlo here, who has 18 consistency, 17 important matches, and is a professional. So that's not too bad. Ribéry slipped down the ratings a little bit. 32 now, so he's starting to decline as a player. We're kind of reaching the top 50 at this point, and you'll probably see a few more players pop up who are on the decline. Players like Iniesta, who in the past have really been kind of top 10 players in the world, but reaching his 30s now. Not quite at that same level. We've got players like Isco and Busquets here. Isco, actually, 181 potential ability. He's only 23, so he can achieve that in your games. And as we keep going up, Lahm here. I believe Lahm might have had a little bit of a downgrade, the German fullback, 31 now. It's kind of interesting seeing how all these players rank alongside each other. I believe the highest rated goalkeeper in game is, I want to say it's Neuer and then De Gea. We'll check as we go forward. We'll have a quick filter to have a look at who the best players are. But you can see here, Bale. I was surprised how low Bale's consistency was. Only 8. He has 11 important matches, however, and you can see he's fairly sporting, but I was surprised how low that was. And also, he only has a current ability of 170. One thing that Bale does have in his favour, though, is a lot of preferred moves. Anyway, as we continue scrolling up, you'll see the likes of Dimaria, Muller, Ramos, a lot of players he'd really associate to be kind of top players in the world. Mesut Ozil ranks on par with James Rodriguez. Let me know what you make of that. I'm not convinced by that personally, but I think it's just down to personal opinion. Buffon, I believe, has the highest rating for a player who's 37. He had 194 potential ability at one point. It's still at 172. Of course, he's still playing for Juventus, age 37, the goalkeeper. He's had a fantastic career. Marco Reus ranks surprisingly highly, in my opinion, but the Dortmund and German researchers clearly quite rate him. He has 173 current ability, which ranks him alongside the likes of Ibrahimovic, who I believe in himself has had a little bit of a downgrade this year. If we keep scrolling up, you've got Tevez, you've got Vidal, you've got Boateng. Boateng, one of the better defenders in world football, in my opinion, at the moment, the German. And now we slowly creep towards the top 10. So as you can see here, De Gea and Courtois rank 2nd and 3rd, I believe, in the overall goalkeeper rankings, with Neuer at number 1. Kroos is the first player in the top 10, 176 current ability. I can get behind that. Paul Pogba has 192 potential ability, which makes him as good, potentially, as Ronaldo. Of course, the French 22-year-old still has a little bit of potential left to fulfill in real life, I feel. Of course, performing very, very well at Juventus following a transfer a few years ago. We then have the top 2 Premier League players being Eden Hazard and Aguero. Aguero just edges Eden Hazard with 180 current ability. Looking at it here, you can see both these guys with really good kind of consistency and important matches, and they both have pretty good rep. We then have Robin coming in at the number 6 spot, the 31-year-old. A little bit of a decline recently, but still a very, very good player in Football Manager. And then we have our top 5, which consists of 3 Barcelona players, Neymar and Suarez in 5th and 4th. Neuer, the 3rd best player in world football as a goalkeeper. And then Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi at number 1 and 2. Messi taking the number 1 spot. And one thing that surprised me was the fact that Ronaldo's current ability is 192, whilst Messi's is 198. That is a big difference. We'll just quickly compare these guys. This can get a little bit laggy because there's so many players to load up, but we'll have a quick kind of comparison between these two guys because I think it's interesting to look at how these two guys stack up against one another. I think Ronaldo suffers a little bit from the fact that he is kind of getting into his early 30s now, and so there's that natural decline that I feel like the Spanish researchers feel inclined they have to give him. But you can see here, Ronaldo does have the better physicals there or thereabouts. Messi technically better. Their mentals are fairly split. They kind of both have slightly different strengths. Messi more of a creative player with good teamwork. Ronaldo, you can see here, not so great on the teamwork front, but great when it comes to being like his movement off the ball, and he's also a bit of a braver player. But anyway guys, that is going to wrap up this video covering the top 100 players in Football Manager 2016. As I mentioned at the start, I have a shortlist down in the description for you guys to download where you can look at all of these players. Let me know if there's any players you're surprised at how highly they ranked. It doesn't have to be players I talked about. As I mentioned, let me know if you'd like to see a kind of series where we look at kind of in chunks of 10 players counting down to the number 1 spot. We'll look at their profiles in detail, how they stack up against players around them. I'd like to know if that's something that you guys would be interested in. But anyway, that is going to wrap up everything from me. Thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, smash the like button. If you're new here, subscribe. And other than that, guys, it is me, Jack, and I'll talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.